The way we consume and share news today, it is largely rooted in social media outlets, a reason why it's crucial to look at what's being discussed online. For our daily social media minute, we're joined by Erica. Good morning.
Good morning, Lena.
Happy Thursday.
Oh no, I just heard you and Adam, you're both
Yeah.
under the weather.
We sound great, don't we?
It's fine.
We'll rise above it after the weekend, I hope. But there is definitely something going around, so everyone be careful.
Yeah.
All right, let's begin with this first buzzword. So I'm definitely seeing more warnings out there. There are the professionals talking more openly about it. High sugar and high sodium food consumption is evidently and more publicly discouraged. However, according to the experts, Korean sodium and sugar intake still exceeds international recommendations.
That's right. There's a new report which reveals that South Koreans consume more than 1.6 times the limit recommended by the World Health Organization. That's an average of around 3,130 milligrams of sodium every day. Now, according to the Korea Food and Drug Administration's latest nutrition survey, Korean sodium intake has actually decreased by about 34.5% since 2011. That is down from the then 4,790 milligrams, but it still exceeds the WHO guideline of 2,000 milligrams by almost 57%.
All right, so we still exceeded more than double the recommended amount anyway when it comes to sodium and sugar intake. So where does all this sodium intake come from? Do we know the culprit?
Yes, of course. All of that sodium comes from some of our favorite foods like noodles and dumplings, kimchi, soups, all manner of soups. In fact, Koreans enjoy a soup with a meal every day, stir fries, and stews as well, jjigae. And among these foods, instant noodles, ramyeon, and kimchi contributed the most sodium across all age groups for Koreans, except for seniors over the age of 65.
This all sounds so delicious, Erica, and that's the problem, it seems.
Yeah.
All right, so is there a noticeable difference in the level of sodium intake across different age groups?
Yes, there is, in fact. So people in their 30s and 40s tend to consume more sodium than other age groups. There were differences by gender as well. So men consume almost 1,000 milligrams more sodium a day than women. That's 50% of the recommended levels, by the WHO.
Okay.
Now, when dining out, which a lot of people do, the sodium level in meals averages around 1,522 milligrams, which is significantly higher than the 1,000 milligrams typically found in home-cooked meals.
I would definitely encourage any of our listeners who eat out a lot, which I do too, to just try cooking at home, some of your favorite dishes at home, and see what it tastes like when you put much, much less sugar and salt. Then you can have a better gauge of, whoa, this is why I feel sleepy after dining out.
And the reason why restaurants add a lot of salt and sugar to foods, if anyone has ever cooked at home, you'll realize just how much salt goes into food to make it tasty, right?
Right, because the second you start cooking at home, you start to question, why is it bland? And that's exactly the point. And it's kind of a vicious cycle because restaurants need to serve meals that taste delicious immediately, right? It can't, the selling point can't be, you'll feel better 10 years from now. So you get the sort of the vicious cycle there. So that's sodium intake. What about sugar? Consumption of processed foods has gone up in recent years, and I'm sure that adds to the sugar problem.
That's right. For sugar, processed foods contribute an average of 35.5 grams of added sugar a day per person, which is around 7.6% of daily caloric intake, or around 1,830 calories. But for girls and young women, the intake of added sugar exceeds 42 grams, which surpasses 10% of total daily calories. The WHO recommends keeping added sugar intake low, below 10 10% of daily calories. The Korea Food and Drug Administration urges consumers to, like you said, adopt cooking methods or cook at home, first of all, and then adopt cooking methods that reduce sodium levels. And of course, if you're buying pre-made foods, to check nutrition labels carefully. They're also urging consumers to choose processed foods with lower sugar content because even small changes can make a big difference for better health. And while we're on the subject of sugar, the next time you're at a convenience store, try to find food that doesn't contain huge amounts of added sugar. It's really shocking just how much added sugar there is in foods that we don't even consider to be sweet. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it all piles up at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I think that's a misleading thing. We think of the most obvious examples of things that would expectedly have a lot of sugar contents, right? I mean, cookies and crackers and chips. In order to make any food taste savory, sugar is the magic.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Unfortunately.
That's right. So that's the uncomfortable truth. No one wants to hear it because our way back to health is really inconvenient and uncomfortable and not always delicious. But
right.
Try cooking at home because maybe after like 3 or 4 days, you adjust. And that's really interesting too. Our body is completely capable of adapting to the more bland diet.
You know what? You're right. So for a while, I really tried to stick to home cooked meals, for health reasons. And I noticed that every time I dined out after that, everything tasted so much saltier.
Yep. Welcome to the uncomfortable truth of dining out. And the thing is, if I had Erica for my partner, I would eat at home too. She's an excellent cook.
Thanks, Lena.
But start with something easy, folks. Things you love, and then work your way into it. I promise there are benefits, and you'll feel it too. All right, on to our second story this morning. So to crack down on illegal taxi practices, like maybe not running the meter before they start operations, Seoul City is cracking down with a newly introduced QR code system.
That's right. Seoul City has announced its plans to crack down on illegal taxi practices like overcharging, refusing rides, and other unfair practices targeted at foreign tourists. So starting yesterday, tourists can report these issues easily through a new QR code-based survey system. The city is also going to continue crackdowns at Incheon and Gimpo airports, especially at international departure areas.
All right, so how are they implementing this new QR code survey system?
Yeah, so since June 19th, officials have been handing out these business card-sized surveys, which contain QR codes to tourists who are leaving from Incheon and Gimpo airports. Now, these cards are available in 3 languages: English, Chinese, and Japanese. And if, say, for example, a foreigner wanted to report an issue, what they do is they scan the QR code to share their taxi experience, including issues like illegal fare demands, not using the taxi meter, or refusal to take passengers.
All right, so it's much easier to report problems even if the tourists are pressed for time before their flight because they have an accessible system on their phones, essentially, and they don't have to make a phone call, which can be a whole process. And might I add, the linguistic barrier, just the sheer amount of time you would have to commit, and who wants to do that on a vacation?
Exactly. So this improved survey method is linked to the city's taxi management system, which helps authorities enforce penalties like fines or license suspensions more effectively on the spot. Last year alone, Seoul conducted more than 7,400 interviews with foreign visitors and found 345 cases of law breaking. These include mainly overcharging, not using taxi meters, or operating outside designated zones. And these types of violations can lead to fines, license suspensions, or in the worst case, cancellations of licenses. So to protect tourists, Seoul City is going to conduct regular on-site inspections at popular tourist spots like Myeongdong, Hongdae, Itaewon, and Gangnam Station. There are officers fluent in English, actually, as well as Japanese and Chinese, and they're stationed there to assist and enforce these regulations.
All right, so the newly introduced system using the QR code system to make all taxi fares a little bit more transparent and fair. All right, on to our final buzzword this morning. How far will a father go to save his own daughter's life? This is something. Daughter falls overboard in the Caribbean, and a father jumps in to save her life.
That's right. The story I found on the New York Post and other U.S. media have reported on the story as well. A father jumped into the sea to save his young daughter after she fell overboard from a cruise ship. And this incident happened on June 29th aboard the Disney Dream cruise ship, which was sailing from the Bahamas towards Florida. Now, passengers say that when the little girl fell into the ocean from the deck, her father didn't hesitate. He basically leapt immediately into the water to rescue her. And he held onto his daughter, and he floated in the sea for about 20 minutes, fighting to stay afloat. And luckily, a rescue boat arrived, and thankfully, both were safely brought back aboard the ship.
All right. And the thing is, 20 minutes can be quick or feel like an eternity depending on where you stand in the situation. And it could be a life or death situation because this is open water we're talking about, right? Every second really does count.
That's right. And you might be wondering, were the parents being careless? No, this kinds of things, they happen actually more often than you think. And it happens like really quickly. And I'm so glad that the dad actually saw the girl go over.
Right.
And this happened to me too once when I was just a baby. I don't have memories of this incident, but my mom says when she was cooking in the kitchen, this was like back in Casablanca, Morocco, she said that everything just felt weirdly quiet, right? So she looked around, and that's when she saw me go over the window. I fell onto the balcony, thankfully, but she said that was a really scary experience. So anyways, accidents with toddlers, they happen all the time. But anyways, it was a scary moment for the passengers on board the ship as well. They watched, as the rescue boat approached the two of them, and a cheer broke out from the crowd when they saw the father and daughter being pulled onto the ship. To safety. Yes. And the Disney Cruise Line issued a statement. They praised the crew for their quick response. However, some passengers expressed some concerns. They mentioned that it took a little too long for the rescue boat to reach them as the father and daughter struggled in the water. And many passengers described the man as a true hero, saying that, he held his daughter for more than 20 minutes in the sea. So just glad that they're both okay now.
I am so glad that they were brought to safety. And Erica, there was so much to unpack in the conversation. Just a friendly reminder to all of us, not just Erica, to be good to our parents.
Yes, exactly.
Could you imagine how traumatizing that was? Erica, thank you so much for taking us through all of the emotions.
It was fun as always.
See you tomorrow, Erica.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.